The conference room was filled with quiet conversation, the voices overlapping in a blur I hardly noticed. My phone flashed on the table. Tyler. I got up and went into the hallway, anticipating the usual. How's the trip? When are you coming home? Instead, his voice sliced through the line like a knife. I'm divorcing you, he said, icy and calculated nearly triumphantly. I've already sold the apartment. You'll have to move somewhere else. Good luck. The air seemed to freeze for a moment around me. I caught my breath. The arrogance in his voice, the raw cruelty was overwhelming. You sold the apartment? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady even as my knuckles tightened over the phone. Yes, he replied with a sarcastic laugh. Nicole and I require the money to construct our future. She deserves better than that small stuffy apartment anyway. Nicole, the sound of it hit me like glass breaking on the ground. I'd wondered for months, late nights, overnight business trips, the increasing distance, but to hear him say her name so matter-of-factly, as if I was the stranger in their bright new life, put a low fire of anger burning through me. Good. For you, I replied flatly, every word cool and deliberate. If he was hoping for a tear, he was going to be disappointed that my name is Amelia. Up until that phone call, I felt I had married a man I could trust. 6 years we'd been together. We constructed what I thought was a life, a home, a 2-bedroom apartment. I'd fallen in love with the moment I walked in the door. It wasn't walls and windows. It was the dream we'd struggled for, or so I thought. In hindsight, the cracks were always there. Tyler brushing aside my questions regarding money, his hollow assurances and hasty, suave kisses to stifle my reservations. I had confused manipulation with self-assurance. Now, his mask had slipped. The rest of the day was a blur in a cloud of artificial smiles, and not on automatic pilot in meetings. All that was going through my head was, he thinks he's won. He believes he can take everything from me and get away with it scot-free. But Tyler had been one important detail blind. The deed to the apartment was in my name. Only mine, months before. After refinancing transaction, I'd insisted on the transfer. Tyler'd signed on the line without a look, too arrogant, too heedless to even read what he was signing. That recklessness was going to kill him. By the time I closed my hotel room door that night, the shock had solidified into determination. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to cry. Tyler wanted war? Fine, but this was a war he would lose. I called Chloe, first my lawyer, and my friend. I explained it all to her, cool and precise, even though adrenaline coursed through me. He said, he sold the apartment? Chloe parroted, her voice cutting with incredulity. Does he even know he can't lawfully do that without your permission? Apparently not, I answered calmly, a slight smile playing on my lips. He thinks he's already blown the money on his glamorous new life with Nicole. Chloe let out a wry laugh. Then prepare yourself, Amelia, because he's about to learn just how much he's misjudged you. And that was where the game of revenge really started. Chloe's tone over the phone was calm. Realistic. If Tyler's already accepted money from the buyer, he's opened himself to fraud. And fraud doesn't go away with an apology. The word fraud hit me like a spark to dry tinder pleasure, raw and piercing. What's our play? I asked. Step 1, Chloe replied crisply. We've already notified the buyer. The sale isn't valid. Step 2, we draft a formal letter for Tyler, outlining every consequence of what he's just done. And if he tries anything else, she let the pause hang in the air. We'll bury him in court. When I hung up, an odd calm came over me. Tyler believed he had left me shattered, scrambling in the darkness. But in reality, he had just given me the perfect weapon. This wasn't panic. This wasn't heartbreak. This was strategy, the remainder of my journey past in dutiful concentration. I committed myself to work during the day, But in the evenings, I allowed the seething quiet of betrayal to harden into something more solid, determination. The hurt was present, indeed, but it was no longer a vulnerability. It was a knife, and Tyler would be the first to know its sting dot by the time I got on the plane to come home. I wasn't just coming back as Amelia, the wronged wife. I was Amelia, the woman about to tear down a liar limb from Lynn Dot the plane landed. I called Chloe the moment I got off. I'm home. What's plan B? Williams spoke to the buyer, Chloe announced curtly. They were shocked, angry with Tyler, but also willing to work with us. That's a good thing. And as for Tyler, my hand tightened. On the phone, what about him? I sent the official letter this morning. It lays it all out, your exclusive ownership of the apartment, the illegality of his pseudo-sale, and fraud aspect. He hasn't gotten back to me yet, a pause. But I bet $1 to a donut he's furious. Good, I muttered, a slow smile. Spreading, let him seethe. When I returned to the apartment, the quiet was unsettling. His coat still thrown over the chair, his boots discarded by the door. It was like home, but something in the air had changed. The apartment no longer felt like ours. It was mine, Dot, and soon enough. Tyler would have to see it. The storm rolled in that night. The door crashed open, and here he stood flushed, breath panting with anger, phone clutched in shaking fingers. What the hell is going on? He yelled, thrusting the printed letter under my nose. You're saying I can't sell the apartment? It's half mine. I stood firm. I folded my arms, allowing my composure to slice through his fury like steel cutting through smoke. No, Tyler, it's not. The deed has been in my name for months. You can't sell something you don't own. He went stiff. His face contorted, rage warring. With confusion, what the hell are you talking about? Silently, I opened the folder I'd brought and pulled out the deed. I held it between us, firm as a boulder. Once we refinanced, I had the deed transferred. You signed the papers in person? Didn't even read them, did you? Just like usual. He said nothing for a moment, then his sneer was back, nastier than ever. You think you're smart? This makes no difference. I've already entered into an agreement. You're the one who'll look like an idiot when it all comes crashing down. I stood my ground against his glare, not flinching, my voice steady and low. No, Tyler, the only fool in this room is you. Void sale, Tyler, I told him, each sentence cold as glass. The buyer's aware of it, and they're willing to sue unless you pay back every penny of that deposit. I moved closer, my voice dropping to a razor's edge. And if you've already wasted any of it, then you're in much deeper trouble than you can comprehend. For the first time, his mask failed. His bravado faltered. You don't know what you're saying, he mumbled, eyes avoiding mine anywhere. Oh, I know precisely what I'm saying. My tone didn't rise, it never needed to. The firm equanimity sliced deeper than screaming ever had. You've spent years treating me like a fool, like I was unable to discern the truth from your deceptions. But I've been watching, Tyler, and now, I leaned forward, eyes never leaving his face. Now you're the one who gets to deal with the repercussions. He began to pace, his anger increasing by the second. This is crazy. You're overreacting. You can't just toss me out like a stranger. I folded my arms, allowing the silence to cut before I said anything. Actually, I can. This apartment is rightfully mine. You're still standing here because I've given you the decency of time, but don't confuse my decency with weakness. I'm not going anywhere, Tyler. You are. The next few days were a drama of his disintegration. His calls clogged my voicemail apologetic hours, threatening hours. The man who was convinced he had it all under control was in disarray, and it was nearly poetic to behold Dot at the same time. Chloe was precise as a surgeon. The purchaser reversed the sale, angry with Tyler for squandering their time and resources. Divorce proceedings started taking form line by line, sealing his fate. "You're in a strong position, Aim," Chloe told me one afternoon, her voice steady and reassuring. "He has no leverage." Between the voided sale and potential fraud charges, Tyler's cornered. If he wants to avoid a complete collapse, he'll have to play by our rules. Her words steadied me, but they also opened my eyes. For years, I let him dismiss me, belittle my concerns, and chip away at my confidence. No more. This was my life, my home. My turn to write the ending. Laura, my friend, stopped by one evening. We started boxing up Tyler's things together, piling his shirts and ties into tidy stacks on the living room floor. "How's he doing with all this?" she asked, grinning as she shook out one of his ostentatious silk ties. "Not so great," I replied with a laugh, amazed at the lightheartedness in my own tone. "He still believes that he can talk his way out of it, but I'm finished playing that game." "Good." Laura tossed the tie into the box with a flourish. "He doesn't deserve one more second of your space or your time." For the first time in years, I felt it: support, strength, freedom, and it was intoxicating. The last puzzle fell into place the day that Tyler made his most daring and idiotic move to date. I sat at the dining table, papers in front of me, when the door opened. Tyler strode in with Nicole beside him, her arm hooked through his as if she were queen of the universe. Nicole's gaze swept the room, her lips twitching into a self-satisfied smile. "So," she purred, voice heavy with entitlement, "this is where we'll be staying." I stood up gradually, my pulse racing, but my mind made up like steel. "No," I replied sternly, my voice ringing out across the room like a judgment. "This is where Tyler was staying. You, Nicole." I fixed her with a stare, unyielding. "You won't be staying here at all?" Her smile wavered, smugness breaking into uncertainty. She looked over at Tyler, already frowning, his confidence fraying. "What the devil? Is this?" he snapped. I pointed to the apartment surrounding us, my voice slicing through tension like a knife. "This," I said firmly, "is my home. Not yours, not hers. And it is sure as hell not a motel for you to slink back to after stabbing me in the back." Nicole's painted-on smile disappeared, her eyes growing cold. She remained silent, but her body tensed. Tyler, on the other hand, was already beginning to disintegrate. "You can't do this," he bellowed, his voice cracking with rage. "You're being totally unreasonable." I stood my ground, unwavering. "No, Tyler, what's unrealistic is that you would sell my house, take the money, and then hope I just roll over. You're lucky that I haven't already reported criminal charges." He stood frozen in the doorway, face flushed, fists tightening and releasing, as Nicole folded her arms, fidgeting alongside him. "You're ridiculous, Amelia," he barked, his voice thick with desperation. "You can't just kick me out of my own house." I edged forward, my voice even, unruffled, and definitive. "This isn't your house anymore. The deed's been in my name for months. Now, you signed the papers, Tyler, you just never took the time to read them, like always." Nicole's gaze flickered toward him, suspicion creasing her voice. "Wait, what is she saying?" "You said this was your apartment, that you sold it." Tyler winced, searching for words. It's complicated. I'll deal with it." "Oh, it's not complicated," I interrupted, my voice as sharp as steel. "He attempted to sell an apartment that wasn't his to sell. The sale is null and void. And now he's got nothing." Nicole's composure cracked. Her hand tightened on her purse strap, her voice rising. "Wait, so the money you told me you had?" She trailed off, eyes widening. "Oh my God, did you lie about that too?" "Nicole, let me explain," Tyler pleaded, reaching toward her. "No," I spat, advancing. "Let me tell you." Tyler plotted to sell my apartment in secret. believing he could vanish with the money and leave me with nothing. But the deed was in my name all along, so not only did he lose, but he defrauded me. Nicole took a step backward, her face blanching. Fraud? She breathed, more to herself than to me. You're kidding, right? Dead serious, I replied, crossing my arms. And if he doesn't clear out his stuff and go today, I'll press charges. Trust me, I have the paperwork right here. The last shreds of Tyler's confidence crumbled. His voice broke, becoming a whiny plea. You can't do this, Amelia. We've been together for 6 years. You can't just dump me like trash. I regarded him, my voice cold as stone. You threw me out the moment you made that phone call. You laughed about leaving me homeless. You didn't just betray me, Tyler, you tried to destroy me. Don't you dare stand there and pretend you're the victim. Nicole's eyes flicked between us, her disgust writ plain on her face. This is crazy, she growled, squeezing her purse shut. You didn't tell me any of this. You told me you had it all taken care of. Nicole, wait, Tyler pleaded, his voice laced with desperation. I can make this right. Just let me. Don't. She raised a stern hand, her voice as icy as glacial. Water. I'm not getting pulled into your mess. Without hesitation, she turned on her heel and strode out of the door. The silence that ensued was oppressive. Tyler stood there, his face empty with shock, and I smiled. Slow, steady, triumphant dot as the door closed behind Nicole. It wasn't her departing dot, it was the final bit of his authority exiting with her. That leaves you with a movie ending and a chilly, gratifying conclusion with Amelia triumphant. Tyler embarrassed and Nicole dead. I looked at the door Nicole had burst out of and back at Tyler. Looks like you're on your own, I stated flatly. Now, let's discuss what comes next. His tough act fell apart. He collapsed onto the couch, his face hidden in his hands. Amelia, please, he groaned, his voice broken and cracked. I must. Oh, I know that, but you don't have to do this. You're right, I said, crossing into the kitchen and coming back with a folder. I put it down on the coffee table with calculated calm. I don't have to do this. My gaze met his, but I'm going to. He raised his head, confusion crossing before turning to dread dot this. I said, pounding the folder, is the divorce documents. My attorney already had them drawn up, and I recommend you sign it. Now, the quicker you do, the quicker we can both get on with our lives. Tyler glared at the folder as if it was a sentence of death, his complexion pale. You actually despise me that much? He asked, shaking. I responded with a sharp, humorless laugh. Hate you? No, Tyler, I don't hate you. I pity you. You had everything, a person who loved you, a home that we shared together, and you destroyed it all because your ego was more important than the truth. My heart was racing, but my determination never faltered. I want you gone by tonight. Take whatever you have and get wherever you're going. This is the last favor I'm ever doing for you. His lips parted as if he was going to resist. But then, for the first time ever, Tyler was out of options. His shoulders fell into defeat. Fine, he growled. I'm leaving. Good. I moved toward the door, holding it open. And don't even think you'll try anything else. Chloe's got everything under control now. If you cross one more line, the courts will be there waiting for you. Slowly, Tyler got up, putting on his coat. He didn't look at me as he moved past me. His footsteps rang out loudly in the hall until the door slammed shut behind him. For one brief moment, sorrow moved through my heart, not for him, but for the fantasy of the life I believed I lived. The man I believed I had married never did exist, and now neither did he. I turned the key to secure the new lock. This was my home now. My life, and no one, particularly not Tyler, would ever again take it away from me. The quiet that came after was suffocating initially, but then it settled into something lovely. Peace, freedom. The air was lighter, the rooms brighter. His presence, his arrogance, his deceit gone. I stood in the living room, taking in the vacant spaces where his belongings had rested. The annoying gaming chair, the garish framed jerseys, the ugly coffee table he refused to part with. Gone. And for the first time in years, the apartment felt like mine once more. That night, Lavra arrived bearing greasy takeout and a bottle of wine. She plopped onto the couch with a melodramatic sigh. So, is he really gone? Gone, I affirmed, filling us both a glass. And not returning. I told him he had until the end of the day to pack up. He didn't even protest. Lavra smiled, her glass lifted. To fresh starts and well-deserved victories. I tapped mine against hers, my lips actually curving into a smile. To never again letting someone walk all over me. Over the course of the next several days, I took back the apartment bit by bit. I relocated the furniture, reordered my beloved artwork, and stocked the space with things about me rather than us. Each tiny adjustment was a battle cry I had endured. I had emerged victorious. This wasn't about revenge. It was about liberation. It was about reclaiming my life, decision by decision dot, and for the very first time in much too long, I was able to breathe. The apartment gradually changed, not only in terms of looks, but in atmosphere. Each new element I introduced, a soft blanket on the couch, favorite paintings on the living room walls, the little trinkets that brought me joy, eliminated the specter of Tyler's presence. This wasn't redecorating. It was resurrection. The space was being transformed into mine again, an expression of who I really was and not who I had been for him. Chloe's call came a few days later. Her voice carried the kind of certainty that steadied me like armor. The fraud charges won't go through. The buyer doesn't want to pursue it, she explained smoothly. But the divorce paperwork is on track. Once Tyler signs, you're free. That title free hit me like a chord I hadn't struck in years. Free from the bitterness. Free from the years of eggshells to walk on. Free from the burden of loving someone who only knew how to take. Tyler made attempts to reach out naturally. His texts were a blend of desperation and guilt. I aired, "Can't we at least speak?" Then another, "You're going to destroy me, Amelia. Is that what you truly desire?" I didn't respond. For once, I didn't give him my energy. He had made his decisions. Now he had to gag on the aftermath dot by the end of the week. The apartment was unfamiliar. Not because the walls were different, but because the air was. Lighter, warmer, mine. For the first time in years, I settled onto the couch with a mug of tea, looking out at the city lights, and felt an unshakable sense of peace. Tyler's infidelity had cut deep, but it had also stirred something within me. A fire, a truth. I was done settling, done believing I didn't deserve more. A month later, the divorce papers were finalized. Chloe handled it like a master chess player, cornering Tyler until he had no moves left. He signed without resistance, without one last plea, without even the energy to fight. Just a clean, cold break. Strangely, it felt perfect that way. One afternoon, when I was going through old papers, I saw a picture of us. Tyler and me in the beginning, grinning, hugging each other. Two dreamers who believed they were creating something genuine. For an instant, the memories stung at me. The laughter, the vows, the hope. But all of them were like shadows now, pale and ephemeral. I slipped the picture into an envelope and shoved it into a drawer. Not ruined, not celebrated, just stored just where it should be, because that was finished. And I wasn't merely taking back my apartment anymore. I was taking back my life. The evening the divorce was finalized, Lauren and I toast high over the city in a rooftop bar, the skyline sparkling like a crown beneath us. She raised her drink, her smile bright and conspiratorial. "Look at you," she said, eyes shining. "That glow. Single life really does agree with you?" I laughed, a surge of heat I hadn't experienced in years. "Not about being alone," I amended, clinking my glass against hers. "It's about freedom. For the first time, I'm not living by anyone else's rules." We toasted, the glasses clinking like a bell of triumph. The night went on and laughter flowed from me freely, every moment sewing, pride tighter thread by thread. I'd made it through the flames, through humiliation and betrayal, and I hadn't simply lived, I'd rebuilt myself afterward. In my apartment, I sat on the couch where I had sat and sobbed until I believed I would break into pieces, and started making rough sketches of my future. The space was no longer a prison, it was a sanctuary, a reminder of all that I had reclaimed. Yet I knew I would not remain forever. One day, I would have a house with no ghosts, no remnants of Tyler inhabiting the shadows, but until then, this space belonged to me, earned, fought for, loved. Drinking tea and gazing out at the flickering lights, a memory popped into my mind. Tyler smirking on that phone call, so confident of his triumph. He thought he'd shattered me. The irony now made me grin. His own arrogance had been his downfall, and my subdued strength had been my reprieve. This wasn't the end of a marriage, Dot. It was the beginning of a new chapter. A chapter where I decided my happiness, my serenity, my future. For the first time in years, I felt the breath fill my lungs. And as the night enveloped me like a soft shawl, I knew the truth. I was finally absolutely free.